Welcome to the Empowerment Hour podcast, your digital classroom where individuals across all ages, backgrounds, and career levels tune in to get their weekly dose of inspiration and motivation. It's where passion and purpose intersect. I am your host, Nancy Ruffin, the self-proclaimed Latina Oprah and your very own personal success coach. My goal is to help you discover your purpose and take inspired action so that you create a life where you feel fulfilled and empowered. So if you're ready to start living on purpose, then you're in the right place. Let's get started. You are listening to the Empowerment Hour podcast. It's your girl, Nancy Ruffin. Welcome back, mi gente. It's been, 2 weeks since our last episode. Last week we had the live event. That was the podcast. And so if you weren't in the building, then you missed it. And I'm sorry. But that is the goal of having these live events, right? Is to kind of get you out from behind your smartphone or your computer screen and get you live and in person to connect with me and connect with my guests. And we had such an amazing time last week. My guest was none other than the phenomenal Phil Robinson. He shared such a wealth of information just from his experiences, his knowledge. He really gave the audience a treat because he was telling tons of stories, about his career and about the different celebrities that he's worked with. And it was just, it was more, not more, it was everything I had envisioned it to be honest. I knew that the event was going to be amazing. I knew we were going to have a really great turnout, and we did. Thank you to all of you who came out and spent, last Sunday with us. It was just such a different experience to be able to connect with the listeners on such a personal level. But everything was just super, super amazing. We had some really great vendors that came out and were selling their products. And I'm happy to say that, a lot of people purchased the things that they were selling. And for those of you who were not able to be in the room, but may be interested in purchasing, certain things from our vendors, I'm going to put all of their contact information in the show notes to the show, so make sure you kind of head on over and kind of click on the link to get yourself familiar with some of their products. But just to recap, we had Glam by Jess, and she sells these really super cute office products, office supplies, stationery, these really cute mugs. So if you're into that kind of stuff, make sure you reach out to her. They're just really different. It's not something that you would see, in an office supply store. So this is, if you're really into girly stuff, dainty things, Jess is your gal. We also had the Love Each Other brand, and this amazing Latina businesswoman. She sells these t-shirts based on one premise, and that is that we love each other. And just the branding is super cute. I know that the logo is like this teddy bear, and a portion of the sales that she makes from her t-shirts goes to benefit individuals with heart problems at not individuals, I think it's children, because it benefits the Children's Hospital in Los Angeles. So whenever you purchase an item from her, just know that a portion of your money is going towards helping, young children who are suffering from some kind of heart disease or heart defect. So it's always good to support those brands. We also had a young woman by the name of Gilda who was selling products via the One Hope catalog. And what that is, I think they specialize in wine, but not just wine. They really make this wine buying experience just really super cool. And they package it really lovely. So if you're interested in like purchasing gifts for someone, Father's Day is coming, you can head over, to Gilda's page, and I'm gonna post their links in the show notes, and kind of scroll and see if there's any cute little packages or gift sets that would interest you, to gift a dad next Sunday. We also had as a vendor Simone Nicole Productions, and she specializes in the arts. So she was selling her books, and she was also selling tickets to a production that I believe she's a part of. So if you're into supporting the arts, make sure that you connect with Simone. It's really important that we support these small businesses, especially these entrepreneurs. And I also want to mention that we had a really great time, partly because we were sipping on mimosas that were sponsored by our host venue, Mott Haven Bar. And those of you who know me, or those of you who are friends to the show and have been listening to the show for, a long time, know that I absolutely love and adore Rosa Garcia, who is the owner of Mott Haven Bar. This is a woman who not only manages to run a successful business, but she is also a single mom. She is heavily involved in community events. She is a philanthropist. She is always giving back to her community. She is always helping and empowering other women. And so for me, every chance I get, I try to support her in all that she does, because it's so important that whenever we have a platform, no matter how big or small it is, that we use that to support those who are doing great work. We use it to make sure that we're highlighting the best in our communities and just letting people know about all of the great things around us that they may not necessarily be aware of. And so that is really what I have based a lot of just my branding on, because I wholeheartedly believe that how you treat people matters. How you treat people is the karma you create for yourself. And so I just live my life being kind to people, even sometimes to people who don't deserve my kindness. But everyone starts off with the same respect, with the same level of support from me. And then it isn't until they show themselves to be unworthy of that I kind of pull back. And even then, you'll never hear me badmouth anyone. You'll never hear me put anyone down, at least not in public, right? Because I'm still human. And so whatever I say behind closed doors with my closest confidants might differ. But just publicly, I will never bring another person down because, again, karma. So that kind of sums up my little recap of last week. And what I really want to talk about tonight, June 10th, 2018, is the National Puerto Rican Day Parade that was held today in New York City on 5th Avenue. And I have the honor and pleasure of saying that I was a part of it. I marched with the Capicu Culture Sofrito for Your Soul contingent. And for those of you who may not know, Capicu culture was founded by two of the most amazing men that I know. I'm lucky enough to call them friends. George Urban Hibaro Torres and Juan Papo Swiggy. These two men have committed their entire lives to elevating the culture and to providing a space for the arts. And I've shared my story on how I actually got started in this business before, and Capicu has played a critical role in that, because it was on their stage, in their open mic, that I first stepped on a stage and shared my voice with the public. And so they are heavily involved in the community. They are constantly giving back. They are always spearheading a number of initiatives throughout the year. And I know one of their big initiatives happens every Christmas, and it's called the Pal Pueblo event. And what they do is that it's a toy drive. They collect toys for children in underserved areas, and then on Christmas Day they go and hand these toys out. But that's just like a small part of what this amazing organization does. They're a grassroots organization, and George, one of the co-founders, he has been heavily involved on the ground here and in Puerto Rico, with the relief and rebuilding efforts. I know yesterday they held a special Capicu culture open mic, but they didn't have the open mic. I think that a lot of the conversation centered on the work that they're doing in Puerto Rico and the farm that they are developing, the 15-acre farm that they're developing to kind of help the island become more self-sufficient, right? Kind of like when our abuelas and our abuelos were growing up on the island, and they were farmers, and they were growing the food, growing the crops, feeding themselves, and then also feeding the island. Because I think one of the things we saw with Hurricane Maria was that when disaster struck, there was no food, right? Because there was no electricity, and all of the food in the supermarkets had gone bad. Aid to the island was slow in getting there. And so, George and the people that he is working with have been very committed in trying to help the island, create long-term solutions of sustainability where they're not as reliant, unfortunately, on the U.S. government, because, we saw what happened with that. The response was really slow. As a result of that, we are now learning that 4,645 Puerto Ricanos have died as a result of Hurricane Maria, and I think it's important to mention that it wasn't, they died the day that the hurricane hit, right? Because of flooding or because of whatever. These are individuals who died slowly. Some of them died because they needed medical attention and didn't get the medical attention that they needed, right? Others died because of, of certain illnesses that they were already struggling with. And then when you compound that with no water, no food, just none of the basic things that we all tend to take for granted, that is where those numbers are coming from. And I think that it really helps to put things in perspective on why Puerto Rico has to start really, although it's not independent, and although, we are still a colony, they have to kind of take their lives in their own hands and figure out ways to ensure that these types of tragedies don't happen again. Because, as they say, at the end of the day, we only have ourselves, right? No one is coming to save us. And so what can we do to save ourselves if something like this should happen? One of the things that I was doing today in the parade and as a part of the contingent, I was working. I actually had the opportunity to interview a number of people. I had the opportunity to interview some of the grassroots organizations who have been heavily involved in the relief and rebuilding efforts in Puerto Rico. And two of them in particular, the New York Disaster Interfaith Services, called short NIDIS for short, and Why Care or Why Not Care. Both of these organizations are working directly with our people, primarily those displaced evacuees that have come to New York City because they have lost everything on the island. They have nothing. Their homes have been destroyed, all of their belongings, things that we all work a lifetime to acquire. They no longer have. They lost it just in the blink of an eye during the time that Hurricane Maria came and just destroyed everything for them. And so it was an honor for me to be able to speak to these individuals who are committed to doing this work and to helping these families that have come here, not looking for a handout, but looking for a hand up. And that was something that one of the displaced families said to me during my interview with her. And it's something that has stuck with me and it has resonated with me because it's important to express, or to acknowledge that, these people who have lost everything are not expecting, they're not even expecting anyone to give them anything. All they're asking for is help to get them back on their feet. They're here, they want to work, they need housing. But the unfortunate truth is that it's just not, the government doesn't make it that easy, right? And they still have children who they have to feed, that they have to take care of. They're here now, so they have to enroll them in school. And so organizations like NIDIS and Why Not Care helps these individuals kind of regroup and get themselves back on track. And one of the displaced families, one of the young ladies that I spoke to today, she said that when Hurricane Maria hit, like the flooding was horrible. And she has 3 young kids. And I don't know if all of them have special needs or if, 1 or 2 of them, but she has children with special needs. And for months, they were each surviving on 1 meal a day. Now, when I tell you that as a mom, and just as a human being in general, standing there, interviewing her, listening to her story, I had to hold back my tears because in that moment, I could feel what she had gone through. I put myself in her shoes for that moment, in her position, and I was like, what would I do if I lost everything and I didn't know where the next meal for my children was coming from? I mean, even talking about that right now is making me choke up because it's horrible. I mean, it's just horrible that we have a government, we have a president who sits in the White House, in the Oval Office, and has, when I think back to the first few days of Hurricane Maria, when he was, the fact that it took him 2 weeks to even get to the island, I have no words for that. But then to kind of go back and think about seeing him on TV throwing paper towels to our people when what they needed was food and water. And I mean, it just, is this the country that we are becoming? That we don't even treat our own citizens with dignity and respect, that we don't look at them with the same eyes that we would look at ourselves or at our brothers and sisters, and just the humanity of it all. And then one of the other evacuees that I spoke with, he kind of spoke about that, because I asked him, how he felt about the lack of support that our island had been receiving from the local governments, and how did that make him feel, considering that, Puerto Rico is part of the United States and we are citizens. And one thing that he really said, before even answering that, he says, before even acknowledging the fact that we're citizens, we're human beings. And so it shouldn't even matter that we're citizens. We were people in need of help and we didn't receive it. He goes, but then when you add the fact that, yes, we are citizens and Puerto Ricanos have given so much, to this country by way of the armed forces, by way of, contribution through, inventions, and through the arts, and through music, and through education. I mean, and through so many other mediums, right? Like, we have contributed so much to the tapestry of this nation, that for this government to not have our back when we most needed it, it's just like, wow. Right? And it kind of just puts things in a different perspective. Because if our own government doesn't care about what's happening to its citizens, then really, where does that leave you and I? Right? I mean, does it matter that we're based in New York? So, God forbid, should a tragic disaster or catastrophe hit New York, will we be treated differently because we are on the mainland? But maybe we won't, right? Who's to say? We don't know. The government has already proven itself time and time again. I mean, we saw it with Hurricane Katrina, right? And when George Bush was president, and Kanye West, saying that George Bush didn't care about black people, and just, we traditionally see it when it involves communities of color, right? Because I think when the hurricane, I don't know if it was Sandy, hit Texas, the response was different. The media coverage was different. The narrative was different. So I don't know. But I will tell you that the spirit today of the parade was one of solidarity. It was of resistance. It was about bringing awareness, to the 4,645 lives that were lost. It was the central theme of our float, of our message. We were united there today, and we were honoring our island and our people, and I just hope that we represented you all well. It's one thing that I always strive in doing, because I am a Puerto Riqueña, because I am aware of the weight that I carry, right? Because I am a product of every single person that came before me. I am a representation of my family, of my ancestors. And so whenever I step into a room, whenever I step into the public eye, I am aware that I am representing all of them. And so I'm super conscious of the things that I say and how I act in public, because I never want to be a disgrace to my people. And I just wish everyone had that attitude, because, it's unfortunate that there are times where the worst parts of our people kind of get highlighted, and not enough of the good and positive and who we are gets amplified. And so for me, that's why I always represent myself to the highest degree, because you're never going to be able to say, oh, mira esa, tú sabes cómo son esos puertorriqueños. No, that will never come be directed towards me, because I know who I am, I know where I come from, and I know the responsibility I have to represent my people well. And I hope that I did that today. I hope that I do that throughout all my work and through everything that I do. You guys, stay tuned for the interviews that I did today. They are coming. We had a professional videographer with us today, and so he will be editing, the film. Our goal is to put together a mini documentary highlighting these grassroots organizations, highlighting the work that they do, and also shedding light on, some of the families that have been displaced and some of their struggles. So again, this is going to be it for tonight. I am beat. It is Sunday. I'm watching the parade, and I came home and recorded this podcast because I felt that I owed it to you, right? You guys didn't have an episode last week, so I couldn't let 2 weeks in a row go without giving you something. Okay, just a reminder that whatever you do, you have to be consistent. That will be your trademark. That is what people are going to remember you by. So just put 110% into all you do. And again, stay tuned for the interviews. The video should be done this week. And as soon as it becomes available, I will let you all know where you can go to view it. But until next time, mi gente, stay focused, be kind to one another.